talk to Conor today. Conor is a vocalist, he's a vocal coach. He is now a vocal student again. He's back studying jazz in college. Myself and Conor's actually from Ireland and he's living abroad. But myself and Conor met at the Vocology and Practice seminar during the summer virtually through maybe a live chat, which was fun. And then he launched a podcast called Let's Talk Singing, which is really, really cool. You should check it out. So tell us about that. What did you go to study in Ireland? And then how did you end up in Vienna? Tell us about that journey.
Okay, so I started in Ireland. I went to New Park Centre of Music in Dean's Grange in Dunleary and places like that in Dublin, which was great. And it was a jazz course, and so I had been playing with bands and I'd been playing with different types of music and different genres and stuff like that. But I always came back to wanting to sing jazz and wanting to play jazz and wanting to listen to jazz, and so I went to study it. And I was there for 2 years. And then in my second year, I fell in love with a German girl.
Oh,
And
romantic.
yeah, well, it was romantic and it was beautiful, but we also had a long distance for a year.
Oh, okay. That's hard.
And the long distance, yeah, it was pretty difficult. So I decided after my second year that, funny enough, when myself and Katia talk about it, I can't remember really asking her if it was okay. I just decided, I was like, okay,
You were
what
just like,
then my
I'm
next
coming.
step is, yeah, exactly. My next step was like, okay, uproot, go to Germany and live with Katya. And so I did. And I've been there for the last 4 years. And then last year and the year previous, I've been auditioning for colleges in Germany and wanting to get back into studying because I kind of felt like I didn't finish my bachelor's. And so I decided then to apply for this college here in Vienna, and the singing teacher was great, and the reviews from past students, alumni were fantastic, and the place itself is great. It's in like the center of Vienna. I'm very lucky,
Mm.
and so I got in, and then that's it. Now I've moved to Vienna, and that's just my life now. I'm back into college for the next 4 years.
Yeah, it's like we're both kind of back in a similar place where we're not newly out of school, and it's a big uproot of your life to actually go back and invest into your education again.
Absolutely. What college are you going to, Rebecca?
Do you know the School of Music in Cork?
Ah, yeah, nice,
Yeah, it's
excellent.
really, really cool college.
Doing the contemporary music, the pop degree.
Yeah, I'm doing the pop degree, so
Sweet.
it's amazing. Like you're learning from some of the best musicians in the country, and like God, even
Yeah.
like some of the people in my year, like they're just so talented. I feel like
Mm.
I don't know if we were that talented when we were 18. Like these guys can just play rings around us.
Yeah, for sure. That was one thing that happened when I came here as well. I mean, I'm 29, turning 30 next, in April, and I came, and the first week I went to a gig, and there was a jam session on, and there was this girl that got up and played piano, and she was just out of this world, like fantastic jazz pianist. And then found out later that she was 19 years old. I was
Oh
like,
wow.
that's not fair. I was like, you can't be. Come on, give us a chance, please.
Yeah. It's why do you think that is?
I think there's a massive difference. I think even in the past couple of years, I mean, like from my personal point of view, like the amount of stuff that I could find out and watch and learn and practice from YouTube videos, from free ebooks, from online masterclasses, things like that, that are just completely, they're just there to be used and there to be taken and there to be ingested. And I think that younger people, like 19, 18-year-old, like also a friend of mine, Katie, guitarist. I mean, he's 19 and he's just, you wonder how did you obviously practice, obviously
Mm-hmm.
like real proper practice, but also I think the opportunities for them to learn kind of at very close to when they're alone, like they can just open up their laptop. And I'm saying that like I don't do that, I do that,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
guess what you're saying is that we maybe didn't have that when we were that age. When I remember, yeah, 18, 19, even though YouTube was there and stuff, but I don't think the usage of it was as kind of great as it is now.
Yeah, there's definitely more opportunity to learn from the greats because we have access to anything at our hands now.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's really, really
And now
cool.
with the whole function of slowing down a YouTube video,
Oh my god,
I
it's
mean,
like the
that's
best
like
thing ever.
it's incredible. I
Yeah.
learned, you know, the Chris Stapleton,
Tennessee
the
whiskey.
riff that he does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tennessee whiskey. Yeah, and I remember I was like, how do I learn this? It's so detailed, it's so fast. And then I
Mhm.
was like, oh, hold on a second, you can slow it down. I
Yeah.
was like, great.
Yeah, for me, actually, I actually am doing that song for my exam this semester, and I was the same. Like,
Wow.
I actually I started learning it during the summer. I was doing a mix between. I was kind of doing like a montage of that one and is it I Rather Go Blind, that one, that, you know, the way they're kind of similar.
Etta James. Yeah.
Yeah, the Etta James one. Um, but I was like not getting the riff at all. But you know, like just even practicing my sight reading over the last year or so, like, and when I downloaded the music and I could see the dots on the page as well, that really helped me kind of visualize the riff.
Mm, mm.
And then I popped on the YouTube video and slowed it down and got my straw out and repeated it over and over again so I could get the kind of flow, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you read music?
I can read music, but I couldn't sit down like and just read straight away. Like I could take away something and take a week and learn it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't
Did you
just
ever yeah, did you ever do the thing of like when you maybe didn't have the notes and then you had a text or so like that, and you were learning the melody, and you know you'd put little lines of when it went up and when it went down and
yes,
things like that.
yes,
And
yeah,
how I just think that's so important to also, you know, tell students and tell people that are learning to sing that, you know, that's something that you can do. It's okay. You know, don't pressurize yourself too much on trying to learn how to read music and sight read and things like that. That comes with time,
yeah.
but you can also use these little tricks, you know.
Absolutely, even like clapping out the rhythm or like drawing the rhythm on the page, like, you know, drawing like literally like circles on the page for each note in the rhythm
Yeah.
and things like that can make it visual or kinesthetic. And I think that can really help because I feel like nowadays it seems to be a really popular thing to be like riff goddesses, but like I'm not a
Mm,
riffer. Like I'm learning how to do it now, like because I want to learn how to do it, but I'm not.
mm.
I never did it before, but I don't know. People seem to be really into it.
Yeah, it seems like it's the big thing at the moment. Yeah, riffing and doing all of those melismas and really interesting offsets and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great though. I think it's always really interesting because again, there's so many good riffers, so many good singers out there that riff fantastically. You know,
Hmm.
really fantastic and it's fun, I guess. Right? How do you find it? How are you finding learning how to riff? Is it fun for you, or is it tearing out your hair?
No, well, a bit of both. A bit
Yeah.
of both, I guess, because like I suppose because I've never really delved into that area, I just haven't really like trained my voice to like move that quickly, you know.
Mm,
So it's taken a little bit of agility training to like get it, but I'm getting there, and it kind of feels like an achievement to be able
mm,
to do it. And like what I'm kind of learning is as well, it's just the process of actually learning the riff and breaking down the riff. Just to quote Natalie Wise, if
yeah.
anyone hasn't checked out her videos on YouTube breaking down the riffs, she breaks down riffs for you in a very easy way to learn them, and it's really really good. Um, it's just it's good for your actual vocal agility. So even if you don't want to be Ariana Grande and be riffing all over the place in your songs, learning to do that and training your voice to do that is still useful for your singing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just like, you know, learning your scales, you know, learning how to go in between tones, you know, like going up in a major, coming down in a minor, whatever it is. All of that stuff, it's just, you know, making muscle memory and just learning these ways in which you can change from tone to tone and keep the intonation. And the thing is with the riffs, what is really interesting is that they just, as you said, like go really fast,
Hmm.
and they're usually very intricate and usually don't just use, they're not just, what I found about riffs is that it's not just about the notes but actually how they they push the notes out, like using like there's a little thing of like using, you know, glottal stops in the middle of a riff, or changing up your the mechanics of your voice in the middle of a riff just to give it that
Hmm.
little push. So it's not just always about the notes but actually about the feeling. I guess that's really it. That I think that's why the riffers, the singers that are riffers, are so good. It's because it sounds like it's just a feeling. It sounds
Yeah.
like it's just like, whoa, oh my God, that's the most natural thing to come out of that person's mouth.
Yeah.
And it's trying to find that, I guess, is really important.
Yeah, it's really really interesting, and it's really fun to do it. So like anyone, like when I was younger, I was in a kind of a, I suppose, alt rock band, and I just wasn't riffing in that
Mm,
band, you know. But I suppose now that I'm delving more into vocal technique and, you know, the vocal coaching and all that, I kind of wanting to know how to do these things, even if I
yeah,
never necessarily do it in my own songs or my own music. Do you know?
yeah.
One of my voice teachers last year, Leisha O'Callaghan from CSM, said to me that one tip for singing riffs is to really clean your tone up, to like get rid
Mm,
of as much air as possible. You know, don't
mm.
sing it with a breathy voice, which I thought was interesting because, yeah, I would say I kind of have more of a husky voice sometimes, so it's like trying to get that cleaner tone, you know.
Right. Yeah. I guess that helps with the agility of it, right? It doesn't allow for too many mistakes, or it doesn't allow for too much for it to fall apart. Because when it's on a
Exactly.
breathy, there's a
Less
chance for it to.
control.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. I think with like being vocal coaches and singing teachers is that like anyone can walk in the door, or at this time anyone can contact you online and become a student online, and you kind of have to be prepared to at least be able to give helpful tips towards most things. And that's also what I found in the last 2 years, is that I was working with students and I was kind of going, ugh, I really need to research that, like the riffs, or like rasp, or whatever it is. Not that I need to be able to do it, and some teachers can and demo it fantastically, but
Mm-hmm.
having this thing of just yeah, helpful tips, I guess, and healthy tips for singers.
Yeah, to just be able to guide a singer in the direction in a safe way. Tell me a little bit about your the type of vocal training you're getting in college, or is it more stylistic based, or did it go into much vocal technique? I'm interested to kind of to hear that side of things about the jazz course you're doing.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's pretty interesting because I was not expecting it to be so technical, or technique based.
Okay.
Um, Not that it's overly technical, but more so I just didn't, I think, I wasn't expecting my teacher, or my lecturer, Ines Reiger, her name is, and she's quite big and quite a well-known jazz singer here in Austria, and also in Germany, and I guess probably around Europe too. But she created her own type of technique. So she's learned CVT, she's learned still, she's learned all of that stuff, and she's taken all of that and put it into her own, and it's called NVT, natural voice technique.
Oh wow,
And
cool.
so instead of using, let's say, twang like they would in CVT, she uses baby. And she just like, yeah, on Wednesday I was going up in my scale, and she was pushing me right up past my B flat and past my B and stuff like that. And we were getting to the D and the E flat.
Mm-hmm.
And she just kind of shouted at me, not in an aggressive way, but just
Yeah.
kind of shouted at me. It was like, 3 years old, 3 years old. And I instantly made that thing here of 3 years
Yeah.
old and made it into a twang. And I got up right to that F, and she kind of stopped and went, cool.
She's like nailed it.
Yeah, she was
She's like,
like,
I'm good.
yeah, exactly. She sat back and she was like, my technique works,
That's
and
great.
yeah, but it's nice because there's a mix of really, like the week previous, or the 2 weeks previous, we just did a whole class on the meaning of a song, and the reason why I was singing it, and the story behind it, and what perspective am I coming at, and
Yeah.
is it from my perspective, or am I singing it from another person's, or who am I singing it to, and all that stuff. So it's a really good mix of good technical stuff. And also I think what's great about, because jazz singing sounds so free, and when
Mm-hmm.
people think of jazz singing, they don't think necessarily of technique. People think of, maybe, like, a lot of people maybe put like Frank Sinatra right there. When they think jazz singer, they think Frank Sinatra, and he just had really good tone, and
Yeah.
that's what people heard, and that's what really resonated with people. But when you look really closely at it, he used such beautiful tone and knew exactly where his voice was going to go all the time.
Mm.
um and that, so his technique was really very ingrained in his voice, and it made it yeah, so relatable or approachable, his voice. But also then his phrasing as a jazz singer was something that musicians used to find really interesting, and that's why he always got the gig, because
Yeah,
he had this phrasing that musicians were like, whoa, okay, I'm
that's
going to follow this
unexpected.
guy. And
Yeah,
exactly, unpredictable, unexpected. It's really great. But yeah, like I was saying, I think people tend to think that jazz singing isn't necessarily technique based. It's more free. But and that was what was nice when I got in with Enos, is that because I've been on the journey of technique for the last 2 years and learning and wanting to know more. And then I got in with Enos, and she was like, yeah, cool, I know all about that, let's talk, you
yeah.
know.
So you were like just ready to learn, and the fact that you're doing a bit of teaching yourself, you're probably learning a lot from the way she teaches as well. Do you know,
Hugely.
it's really
Yeah,
important for us as well to get lessons and learn from other coaches.
totally. Yeah, yeah. And I think I'm also I know a lot of people, and myself included, have neglected that, where we haven't gone to lessons and we've just gigged because
Yeah.
gigging was money, and gigging was a passion, and gigging was with your friends and stuff. And you ended up not going to lessons because you
Hmm.
were just gigging. And I think, but as you said, I think it's so important to have lessons so that you can kind of you can learn from them how to get a message across that you might not have thought about, and would help you in another circumstance with your student, then that you're kind of going, okay, actually, yeah, this might work for this person now, and something I wouldn't have thought about other than having a lesson.
It's 100%, like no one knows it all, you know, and no matter how many years you've been doing it or how little years you've been doing it, or you know where you're at on your journey, there's always
Yeah,
something else to learn,
yeah.
and we just have to be open to that. And like
Mm,
even myself in college, like last year I had Leisha, this year I have a girl called Lorna Moore, and they're both completely different styles of teaching, but I'm learning so much from both of them, you know.
mm,
You know, it's like you know, Alicia was very kind of gentle and very focused and much around kind of connection to the song lyrics and dynamic, and
mm,
a bit of technique thrown in there as well. And Lauren is very much technique, obviously all the other things as well, but she like really delves into the technique and stuff, and it's really
mm.
interesting to see how the different approaches can work. And it's like, yeah, I like the way she did that, or I like the way she did that, and how can I um incorporate that into the way I teach.
Yeah. It also then just it can also inspire you to not try to be everything for your students, knowing that they're, that, as I can't remember who said it, I have a feeling it was said at the VIP conference that we were at. I have a feeling someone said it, that they're trying to teach themselves out of a job. They're trying to,
Okay.
work with someone, and then, pass them on to someone, or at least know that if they can't give them that thing, that there's another person down the road or someone that they know that will be able to give them that thing and help them. And I think, yeah, I think it's really important that we, as teachers and also students, teachers know that we can share, and students know that we don't have to always stick with one person, and one technique is not the the you know the be
The
all
be all
end all,
and
or
end all.
whatever it is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I actually that's an interesting thing to think about. Is like I was the same as you. I like gigged for like 8 9 years in a band, you know, all that stuff. And you know, when I left school, there was no such thing as like popular music teachers. So I kind of like I did some classical training when I was much younger, and then I didn't train when I was gigging. I was just gigging, and then
Yeah.
I ended up going to BIM to do the songwriting diploma and
Mm,
discovered the whole world that that has developed of like, you know, popular music teachers and all the vocal coaches that existed now and everything. And I just I couldn't believe it, but I didn't know where to start.
mm.
I didn't know where to go. So what would you say to like somebody who maybe is in a similar situation, who's like just gigging, and maybe they're writing music and gigging or releasing music or whatever, and they're wondering, they're on the edge of, should I get lessons, should I not get lessons, will it ruin my authenticity? You know, what would you say about that?
Mm. That's such a it's a loaded question, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
so sensitive, because people, um when people are on on that sort of idea of you know, is it going to ruin my authenticity, or is it going to make me too technical, is it going to get rid of my natural sound, or whatever it is. And I think that that's a completely fair, absolutely fair argument to make. If you are happy and you are not coming off stage at the end of your nights with a hoarse voice, and if you're coming and you're doing loads of gigs, 150 gigs in the year, or you're just doing a gig every once in a while, but you're coming off the stage with the healthy, you feel good, you were able to hit the note that you wanted to hit, you were able to you were able to work on the rhythm, or you came in at the right time and things like that. Great, fantastic. Stay with it. I would say, you know, don't pressure yourself to go and get lessons. Um, but then if you are the type of person that is gigging and you sometimes in the middle of your set feel like you don't have that energy, you don't have that push to get that high note in Guns N' Roses, or or in Aretha Franklin, or Whitney Houston, or whatever it is, and you feel like you can't get that, or if it's hurting, then you need to think that, you know, if you need to think that you need to get that to a healthy place. And the way to do that is to go and find your local singing teacher. I would say go and find your local singing teacher in your city or in your town, and check it out and see what you feel, and see if you like lessons, and see if you like being a student, because some people don't like being a student.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's guys in their 30s, there's women in their whatever 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, any age, and some people just don't like to be told what to do.
Yeah.
um and singing is so sensitive and so personal that it's very important that you have the correct teacher. But I would say, first of all, go to your local teacher, go to your local music school, check it out, see if you like that whole dynamic of teacher student thing. And then I would say to cast your, you know, your net a bit wider, and maybe, let's say, if you're in, I would say, even where I'm from Limerick, there's fantastic singing teachers there. But I know that if people want to sing, um, like with a top class opera mezzo or a soprano teacher, they need to go to Dublin, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where that's where they are. You know, it's like in Germany, you know, you needed to go to Berlin. I was in Magdeburg, and you needed to go to Berlin if you wanted to work with
Mm-hmm.
the Judy Nymax, and you needed to come to Vienna if you wanted to work with the Ines Reigers. So there are definitely fantastic teachers out there. And I would say, if, yeah, again, back to my point, if you're feeling that you're not hitting it as cleanly or as healthily or safely, as you maybe should be, then I would say, don't be afraid. Go sit with someone, get a consultation, and talk about how your voice acts on a normal night, and see
Yeah.
how you feel. Yeah.
Yeah,
What
that's
would
an
you say?
interesting kind of way to think about it. So there's like different reasons why somebody would go to a coach for lessons, you know. There's that side of it where like you might be gigging and maybe you're not getting the stamina from your voice that you need, and you're like, why do I keep losing my voice after a weekend of gigs or whatever, and that at that point, then yeah, do go to a coach and see if they can kind of give you some kind of routine to help strengthen your voice so that doesn't happen anymore. But then there's also the kind of artistry side of it, and the kind
Mm,
of, the development of your vocal ability. And for years I definitely would have wondered myself, will do I need to go to lessons? Do I not? But 100%, there's things I can do now that I wasn't able to do a few years ago. So I would say, like, it's up to you as a student to decide what you want to take from the lessons, or what you want to kind of throw away. You can take all the stuff that helps with your vocal health. That's going to help absolutely
mm,
anybody. Where when it comes to like stylistics and that kind of thing, you can pick and choose. Like, you're a creative person, like you're going to be able to make those decisions for yourself. And you know if you go to two different coaches with one song, they're going to give you slightly different versions of it, maybe even completely different versions of it. So there's not necessarily
probably,
one
yeah.
way to sing something,
Mm,
so it's kind of like, I would say, absolutely everybody could learn something from a coach, providing you're that person who's willing to learn and wanting to learn.
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think you're totally right. I think, like, getting lessons and stuff is so, it's so exciting, because you really not at the start, but once you get past that little hurdle of learning those scales or singing the weird sounds with the twang and stuff like that, and making a fool of yourself in front of someone, once you get past that hurdle, I feel anyway, with a lot of students, they really, their eyes get wide and they kind of go, I can't believe I wasn't able to do that, and I'm able to do that now.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic is, that's where the
Yeah.
cool thing is. And that's also, I think, what you were saying as well, is that finding that you're able to do these things is just exciting anyway.
Yeah, for I think both the singer who's getting the lesson and the coach who's coaching,
Yeah.
it's like when the
Yeah, for
students'
sure.
eyes light up when they've gotten a note that they didn't think they're going to get. They're like, "But I've been so strange trying to get that. Like, why does it feel so
Yeah.
natural now and free? It's really so satisfying."
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about, so you were gigging with your band for a long time, and then you found yourself on the stage of the Voice of Ireland. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, that little thing.
Yeah, that little thing.
Yeah, that little thing. Yeah, that was a trip. Yeah. The the Voice of Ireland thing came about because my best friend, one of my best friends, Alan Keary, who lives in Manchester now. His dad is Dave Keary, who lives in Limerick and owned his own, or ran his own studio and stuff like that. And he's a fantastic guitarist and producer. And I'd been gigging and I had been doing the band stuff with Leading Armies. And we had done some fantastic gigs and we were making music, and there was so creative juices flowing. Six guys that used to sing harmonies, and it was just fantastic. And then on the other side of that, like when I wasn't at practice with them or when I wasn't gigging with them, the other nights of the week I was gigging on my own, and I was like an entertainer in restaurants, um, and singing jazz, singing swing. And so the story, when you're growing up and your family sees that you're good at something, they're all going, come on, you need to be really famous. Come on and go,
Yeah.
because in a couple of years you need to put me in a really good nursing home and all this kind of stuff. All, yeah, whatever. But then there
Yeah.
was this guy, the Dave Keary then, who I really trusted his opinion, and he kind of just emailed me or rang me, I'm not sure, out of the blue, and he was kind of going, look, just so you know, there's a new thing coming to Ireland. It's the first series. It sounds really cool. It's called The Voice of Ireland. At that point, I didn't know it was a franchise, or I didn't know that it had been in the Netherlands and things like that. And so I kind of went, okay, cool. He was like, national coverage could be great for you. You never know what happens. And
Mhm.
it's the first series. So I would say go and have a look, and I
Yeah.
said, okay, great. So I went up and had my preliminary audition, and I sang Georgia, and the musical director, David Hayes. Do you know David Hayes? He's a guy
The
in
name is
Dublin.
familiar, but I don't think I've
He'd
come across him
probably,
personally.
yeah, I'd say he's also down in CSM as well at some point, in
Yeah.
down in Cork. But he's a really cool dude, and I did the audition for him, and he really loved it, and so I got a call back then to go to the blind auditions, which was very cool, and it was all very exciting. You can imagine,
Yeah.
it's like TV and stuff like that, so it's all really, my God, this is the best thing that's ever happened, and it's it's so exciting, and who knows what could happen and all that kind of stuff. And so I went up and I did the audition. It was great, and got the four chairs to turn around. And that
Hold
was
on
also
now.
something that, yeah,
Don't brush over that. You got the four chairs to turn
what's that?
around for you. That's
I
amazing,
did, I
like.
did, I did, I did.
And you were like the
I
first
know they
person to do to make everyone's
yeah,
turn, right?
yeah, the first person
Yeah.
in the series. Yeah, yeah. I had to
Yeah.
pay them all off though. To be honest, they cost a huge amount, all of
Well,
them.
you don't have to tell us that. Tell us about what it was like being on the stage with their backs facing you.
I can't remember that. I have to tell
No,
you, I
it was a
really
while
can't. I
ago.
was trying to, because I knew that when I was coming to talk to you, I knew that we were going to speak about
Yeah,
this, and I
yeah.
really tried to envision it and try to remember it and stuff. But it was all like, the day was so long. Like, we were there at 9 o'clock in the morning. Myself and my a couple of my friends were there. We were hanging out in the foyer of the Helix. It was all very strange but cool and all this kind of stuff. And then when
Mhm.
I went on stage, I remember being in the wings, and I remember whoever, I can't remember, the stage manager, I guess, told me to go on. And because I had been gigging with bands and because I had been gigging with a trio for so long, I really can only remember looking over to David Hayes and looking
Mhm.
over at the drummer when I came on stage, because I was very, yeah, kind of overwhelmed, I guess. Um, and I guess when I looked out to the audience and there was the whole helix filled with people, and it's a very strange feeling because no one knows you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yet the crowd are so supportive and
Yeah. Yeah.
so, there was a big cheer and there was, and when the chairs started to turn around, it's like again this big massive kind of rumble of cheers, and it's like, okay, what's going on? And then the second one, and then
You're
the
like,
third one, the fourth one, it's just like then yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, that's for me. Okay, fantastic, cool, cool. Keep your eye on the ball. Keep your eye on the ball.
Mhm.
Um, and so it was very kind of, yeah, very weird and stuff. But it was also, um, yeah, it was very strange to see Sharon Core turn around, because I love the Cores and Sharon was always my favorite. And I actually, again, I really don't know why I didn't actually go with Sharon, because she was the first to turn around,
Mhm.
and also she had something so lovely to say. She was so sweet, and yeah, it was a strange experience. Yeah, because then Cian Egan again, like Cian Egan again, I've been watching, growing up watching Westlife and stuff like that, and it's a very strange experience to see his head
Yeah.
turn around as well.
It's surreal when
Yeah,
you see someone that you only know from like watching on TV or the internet and you meet them in person. It's kind of like
yeah,
it just feels surreal. It's like you're kind of you can't gather yourself for a minute almost. I suppose that's what they
yeah,
call starstruck, kind of, isn't it? I guess
yeah.
in a
I guess
way.
so. Absolutely. And it is that real feeling of being struck, because you kind of don't know what to do and you're
You're like, is this
inhibited.
real?
You're a bit like, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think it's funny because that whole when we then went off, and the next section of it was the battle stages. And for that whole section we were there for a week. Um and I stayed with a friend of mine in Dublin, and I used to go in there every day, and we used to do a practice with the band and get on stage and, reach your line or reach your points, or your marks, and do kind of interviews and stuff like that. And then Brezzy and Cian and Sharon and Brian all kind of turn into very normal people. They're just
Mm.
walking around, which was really nice, because they were all really sweet as well. They were all really nice people.
I guess because they are normal people in a way, like they just
That's it.
are normal people with a job in the spotlight, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's cool. And so what happened after that then? Like did you manage to kind of use that to kind of push yourself on, or what did you learn from it, or what did you take from it, or how did it help
Mm.
you, or how did it not help you?
Good question. Yeah. I think the what was great about doing it was the coming back to Limerick afterwards, and the amount of support and the amount of people that really got behind you, or got behind me. That it was very, very nice and very comforting and very lovely. And also then a lot of places that. Um, I guess I was then the opportunities of gigs, opportunities of working with people, opportunities of going places, began to kind of to come about, more so than they would have before, for sure.
Yeah, to have that on
And
your CV must have really caught people's attention, like.
absolutely, yeah.
Mm.
And I think it's a weird thing, because I know it's something I guess a lot of people say when they don't get further on in competitions. But it's kind of, I felt very lucky in a sense that I didn't go too far on, because I kind of got really a really good sense of the world of TV and the world of kind of that whole kind of music business, TV business, reality show business. And actually, yeah, I'm really interested to ask you about your experience as well. Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
it wasn't really, there's not really much to tell. I was only, I think I was around 16 or 17, and
Oh wow, so young.
I was really
Okay.
young, like I was super young. I was still in school, and I think where did I go? I don't even remember what county I went, to be honest. I think it might have been Belfast,
Hmm.
but I don't even remember. But it was for the X Factor, actually, it was for the X Factor. And I remember I went in and I think it was it might have been like my old stage school teacher who kind of encouraged me to go to it. I think she even picked the song. It was like
Mm,
oh, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That's what it was.
sweet.
And I remember like again, it was a lot of waiting around and all of that. And I didn't get very far. Like I just went into one room. I think there was maybe one or two producers that were in the room. And they're like, "Okay, sing your song." And I sung my song, and I just remember being so nervous that I ended up like standing like with my hands like this, and I was like, "Somewhere," like singing my song just with my arms like trying to like put a performance in, but I was like frozen stiff. I was so scared. But yeah, like I think I'm really glad that I didn't go further because I feel I wasn't ready. First of all,
Mm,
I
mm,
feel like I didn't know who I was. I think one thing that I learned from it is if I was advising anyone who's maybe come to me to ask if they should go forward for something like that is I don't think you should go forward for something like that until you know who you are as a person. I don't think that comes to later on.
yeah,
I think until you kind of know, like, until you're able to kind of make a decision for yourself and make a decision on where you want to go
yeah.
musically, what you want to do with yourself, like, until you kind of understand the essence of who you are. I know
Mm,
that's a bit spiritual, but I really do believe that unless you have that understanding of what your own essence is, you're just going to end up being shoved and pushed in a direction that maybe you do not want to go down, and it could completely ruin it for you.
yeah, I
That's
completely agree.
that's my
Yeah.
only learning, my
Mm.
only point I would pass on from that experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are many young people that do know who they are. You know what I mean? There are a huge. I do believe that there are a huge amount of young people that really do have a good essence or a good sense of themselves and do
Hmm.
very well on those shows, and are able to give something to it and um have a life and an energy about them that is so intoxicating for people to watch and for the producers and stuff like that. But as you said, you really have to be that type of person, and a lot of people at that age don't. And
Hmm.
I know you were 16. I guess I was 21, I
Hmm.
guess. And I had no idea who I was.
Yeah.
Zero. I was flying through life kind of trying to music, sing, sing,
Hmm.
sing, sing, sing. But when I got up there, I really realized that there was, as you said, I just didn't, yeah, I didn't know. I think, and it was very important to know who you were up there because with the second battle stage is that they hand you a song and they tell you kind of not what to say, but they really, yeah, they try and mold you into what they think
Hmm.
you and your image can be translated to people.
Hmm. How it
You
would
know
sell, like how what would sell well,
how
and
it would
how they
sell
would package you,
exactly.
kind of.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, of course they package you. It's
Hmm.
TV.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
business as well.
it's a business for sure. Yeah,
I
but
wonder if
mm,
I'd say like you probably came from a similar background to me with like did you like come from like musical theater and like school shows and things like that. So
yeah.
I'm wondering is the way you said that you feel that like lots of young people would kind of have a good sense of who they are. I wonder if maybe being in like a stage school environment where it's a lot of it's very there's a lot of how do I say it, like rules or guidelines or kind of coaching
Mm,
how you should present yourself in front of people and that kind of thing, and you're playing character roles, you're not
mm.
yourself. So maybe like I wonder if there's a difference between a young person who comes from that background and a young person who's just writing songs at home in their bedroom.
Yeah, I love where your head is. I absolutely agree. I think there's a massive
Mm.
difference. And I think you can see that instantly. I think the joy I'm sure that you had, and I know that I had from growing up of doing musical theater and being in shows and theater pieces, and as you said, playing character roles and all that kind of stuff was so fantastic. But at the end of the day, you really were playing a character role, and then
Mm-hmm.
you were yourself in the groups and the rehearsals and outside and stuff like that. But absolutely the difference between a young person that grew up maybe playing music in their house or playing guitar in their room quietly to themselves, not wanting to wake up their parents, having to find their essence
Mm-hmm.
through listening to original music and things like that. There really is, I think, um God, I don't want to say, because I know I'm a victim to that, and also I have a lot of friends that grew up in the musical theater place, and um, but I think that there is a difference between the people that grow up that might have not have had to put on a mask or put on a hat to get a certain role. People that just had to kind of go through the mud a small bit might have a better understanding of themselves when they
Yeah.
get into that kind of, the spotlight then is on you as a person, as an original. When it's really on you, I think they probably have a better chance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about, really, and um, which brings me on to my next question. Do
Hmm.
you write yourself? Do you write songs and?
I'm a terrible songwriter. I'm such a bad songwriter. The thing is, like, my fiance Katia, she loves them, and there's a huge amount of people, like my friend Anna Marie really has my song as her alarm in the morning, and my song that's on Spotify,
Oh, I didn't know you
which
even
is,
had a song on Spotify. What's it called?
yeah. So on Spotify, I have a couple of songs.
Oh, cool. Under
I
your name?
have under Conor Ryan, yeah.
Yeah, so Conor Ryan, and you have a few songs up there. And are they
Yeah.
songs that you're proud of?
Well, they are. There's songs that they were all written in Germany. So when I was in Germany, when I came over to Germany first, I got a job in a bar, and it was the first ever time in my life since I was about 4 years old that I wasn't on stage doing something, singing, whatever it is. And so I had a lot of time, and a lot of late nights, and a lot of meeting people, and a lot of listening to music that my people that I worked with really liked, which was a
Hmm.
lot of techno and a lot of kind of house stuff, and really influenced obviously the from German techno and stuff.
Interesting, because it's so. I feel like anyone that's kind of in our industry has so many kind of hidden streams of things that they do. It's like, oh, they're a songwriter, or oh, they do this, or oh, they do
Yeah.
that. It's like these
Mm,
hidden little gems.
yeah. I have another hidden gem, but I'm not sure if you know about it. Do you?
I don't know. What is
Okay.
it? Tell me. I'm
So
curious.
okay, so back when I was about 15,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a film. I was in a
Oh,
film in Ireland, a feature film with Pat Short,
oh,
and,
cool.
and it was called Garage. And it was
Okay.
quite good. It was pretty big in Ireland, and it went over to Cannes and the IFTAs, and I was nominated for a best supporting role in a feature length film
No
in the
way.
IFTAs, and I was in the same room as I don't even want to say this. I was in the same room as
No, tell us. Tell us. We want to hear all of this.
Mel Mel Gibson and Colin Farrell, and I was sitting very close to um, what was his Jonathan Rhys Meyers and stuff like that. When I was 15 years old, I was
Oh
cast
my
into this
God.
world of crazy film, because what I wanted to be when I was younger really was an actor. I wanted
Wow.
to be an actor, and yeah, I wanted to do theater, film, all that kind of stuff. And so I went for an audition in Limerick, and I got the role. And then shot for 6 or 8 weeks in Burr, County Offaly.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, and so then it came out, and it was in cinemas all over the place. I remember going to the screening in Limerick with my fourth year class, and there's a scene in the film that's quite explicit, I guess, or at least
Okay.
it's completely unpredictable. You would never assume that this is going to be a part of the
No
film.
spoilers,
And yeah,
because I
no
want to watch
spoilers.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, do yeah. I hope you let me know
So
what
gonna
you
watch
think.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love to. I
yeah.
can't wait to watch it now.
It's a beautiful film. That's something I'm really proud of. I'm very very proud of that. Yeah.
I actually just love watching anything that's Irish. I love
Mm.
Irish films. I just love watching them. I don't know why. I just feel very like proud of my country when I'm watching an Irish film.
Sure. Yeah. I think what's really cool about Irish film is that it is, you can see how much it's grown in the past like 10, 20 years. Is that, like, it used to, there was always this kind of this tinge of Irish film that looked maybe low quality, or you always didn't know kind of where the money was. And then, like, in the last 20 years, like the quality of Irish film has just gone through the roof. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And there's some fantastic new directors, and obviously Irish actors and screenwriters
Mhm.
and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. Like I love just hearing an Irish accent appear, even an American film or something. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he's one of us.
What and did you see the trailer or the ad for the new Irish film that stars the guy from uh Grey is the color of the black. What's that film? Um Grey
50
Book.
Shades of Grey?
50 Shades of Grey. That's the
Oh,
one,
that is actually
exactly.
the one. All right, okay.
Genuinely, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I really, honest to God, couldn't even think of the name.
I was like,
The
is that
the the
something?
Irish actor in that, the guy that plays the lead, he's
Oh,
a guy from I think he's from Belfast or something like that, and he's in a
okay.
new film, an American film, and it's set in Sligo.
Oh, wow.
And I think Christopher Walken is in it, and it got slated on
Oh,
on Instagram, on Twitter,
okay.
really, really bad because their accents are just
I was going to say, is it Americans trying to do the Irish accent? Yeah. See, it's very difficult accent to pull off,
it
like,
is,
because
yeah,
it's so nuanced, even from county to
yeah,
county. Like,
yeah,
you know,
exactly, yeah.
that's so cool. That's really exciting. I can't wait to like watch that. Really
Mm,
cool.
mm.
Um, what's the music scene like? Where are you again? I've forgotten already. Vienna.
Vienna,
Yeah.
yeah, music seems really cool in Vienna. Again, I'm only here a very short time, so
Mm-hmm.
I've been not even just dipping my toe, getting full in to the pool or to the sea of jazz here, and I'm trying to see as much as I can. And then, of course, the lockdown happened, so the
Yeah, of
place that I
course.
was
Yeah.
going to, it was such a shame because they were doing gigs every night nearly. Fantastic place called Zwei in Vienna, and really cool jazz gigs. But the music scene itself, I haven't really, and I'm excited to learn what it really is, what the underground scene is like, what the original scene is like. I know there's a massive amount of venues and places for people to play original music. Um, but what I'm seeing mostly at the moment is the jazz, because that's the kind of the scene that I'm trying to
Yeah.
wiggle my way into.
Yeah, it's actually it's a shame because both of us are back in music college and we want to immerse ourselves in that, to be
Yeah,
all inspired and all the rest.
yeah,
But then COVID has like kind of put a stop to that, so we
yeah.
can't do anything.
But on the other side, I think sorry, but I also I think what's really cool is this whole distance gigging or distance
Virtual
peop
gigs, like,
yeah, virtual gigs,
yeah,
and also virtual, like, people putting videos together and doing stuff like that. Because I know you mentioned before we started about the thing that I did with
Theodora.
Theo. Yeah, with Theo
Yeah, tell
Byrne
us
and
about
stuff.
that.
So Theo, Niall, and Martha and myself are a quartet that go back years and years and years. Like we were all in the musical theatre scene back in Limerick since we were very young, doing all the shows together, doing Les Mis, and they went off and did um God, I can't remember, Rent, and they did some fantastic musicals and stuff, and it really great musicians and also really great singers. And so that happened. We did a show back a couple of years ago called Waiting on Love, and it was like a variety show that we put together, and we were singing waiters. And we put it on in a
Oh,
little
cool.
venue in Limerick, and we
Hmm.
did it all of ourselves, which was great. Like, we were all quite young, I guess. I was 20 at that point. So Martha and I think they were like 19 or so. And we just did all musical theater. We did all like new musical theater as well. We did like Jason Robert Brown, and we did some good Sondheim stuff, and really cool things. But anyway, so that video happened because that quartet, we were so tight. We used to sing great stuff. And then it just dispersed because, Niall moved to Dublin, Martha moved to Dublin, then Theo moved to Dublin, or
Yeah,
maybe Theo went first. And then she studied in BIM. So Theodora
yeah.
Byrne is, as you said as well, she's gigging with everyone. She's, Jason, what's his name? Vincent McMorrow,
James Vincent McMorrow.
James Vincent
A bit of a
McMorrow's.
JVM,
Yeah,
for
JVM, that's
short.
exactly. She's the
I
keyboardist
love
now
him
and the
as well.
backing vocalist, and her
Mm.
partner Joe is on bass. And do you know Theo? Do you?
I don't know her, but I know her name because I went to
Mm.
BIM as well. So people were kind of talking about her, and then the fact that I think, she did backing vocals for
Dua Lipa,
Dua
or what
Lipa.
did you?
Yeah,
I,
Dua Lipa. I think
that's
she did
news to
backing
me now.
vocals
That's
for.
cool.
I'm pretty sure she did. I could be wrong now, but I think that's how I first heard about her. People were talking that she was doing backing vocals and maybe
Mm.
dancing. Does she dance as well?
She does, yeah. She's a great dancer. Yeah,
Okay,
her
yeah. Then I think it was, yeah, pretty sure it was Dua Lipa at the time.
yeah.
So then I was like, well, that's really cool that like, because it was around that time where I was kind of starting to learn about that whole
Mm.
kind of world of things.
Mm.
I really feel like because of the existence of popular music colleges now as well that are coming into the forefront, that side of the scene is really developing over the last 10 years. So I think it was
Mm.
like, when I heard of her doing that, I was like, fair play to her. Because I'm always like really happy for people when they do well for themselves. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. She's doing great. And I also
Yeah.
would love to do it. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the thing. It's like the thing is with Theo is that she's such a hard worker. Like she really I remember going over and practicing in her house and stuff. Like her piano skills are so fantastic and her accompanying, but also her voice is just, so good and so perfectly fit in that kind of pop and also musical theater though, but
mm,
really sits very, very well in the pop realm. And she just, I mean, the thing is, yourself, like Bim, it's just like this melting pot of
hmm,
opportunity. And I remember being in college in New Park, and Bim was like the enemy, because New Park was like the jazz. We were all like the guys
yeah.
studying Charlie Parker and all this kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And then we heard like there was things going on in BIM that were like weeks of ABBA, and we were always oh God, how could that? But then looking
Yeah.
back now, I'm like, God Almighty, the amount of fantastic opportunities these people got going to
Yeah.
BIM.
Yeah, it's really really amazing. Actually, there's a good few singers from Cork as well who have ended up singing for backing vocals for JVM as well, and different people. I'd love to get into that. That's what I'm hoping after my degree.
Yeah.
When my musicianship skills are a little bit better and I can sight read a bit better and that kind of thing. I'd love
But
to.
yeah, but I mean, CSM in Cork is like also becoming so cool for also a melting pot of just musicians and session singers and session
Hmm.
musicians and stuff like that. Like, and I think Gemma really hit Gemma Sugru
Sugru.
really was at the perfect time
Hmm.
to start up Voicework Studio, and also really push that narrative of pop music and learning the craft in a very high quality way. She really was doing a fantastic job there.
Yeah, it's great. It was great to have somebody to kind of shine a light on that world. Do you know?
Mm.
Because it was actually a friend of mine from Kildare who she messaged me and was like, "You should check this girl out on Snapchat. She's really funny and like she posts all singing stuff. I think you'd really like her." And I downloaded Snapchat chat just to follow her. And I was like, yeah, she's really interesting, and I've kind of been following her, I suppose, supporting her ever since, like, and I've gone to lots of her workshops and things like that. But yeah, she was like one of the first people. Her and the Chris and Steve from the Naked Vocalist were kind of the first people to kind of shine a light on that world for me,
Mm,
and
mm.
that was kind of true BIM because they came and did workshops in BIM. So yeah, I was like, this is amazing. I can't believe this exists, and I want to get into this. So it kind of came at like the perfect time for me.
And did you then start? So when did you start your school in Clonmel? It is in
So
Clonmel, right?
it's in Clonmel. So I started teaching. I kind of was like, I had kind of one or two students. I was dabbling in it for like most of the year 2017. Then in November 2017, then I opened the studio then, and kind of just kind of been building it up, bit by bit since then. And it's interesting because as I develop my own skills in coaching, you know, I can take on more advanced students or whatever, and that's
Mm,
that's what my aim is, like that I don't have to send somebody to anybody else, that I'm able to take all kind of levels. And at the minute I'm still on my journey, I still have my training
mm,
wheels on to an extent. So,
mhm.
but I'm very invested in trying to be as best I can be for my students. I would have started off just kind of guiding students through their leaving certain junior certs practicals,
Right.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So it was like kind of less technique based and more performance coaching and stylistics and that kind of thing, and
Which is
dressing
probably
really
something you were
perfect.
comfortable back then as well,
Totally.
doing performance more so than technical stuff. But now that you've learned it, now that you can kind of
Yeah,
expand on that. Yeah.
exactly. So like I would have started off as a coach doing that stuff, and then as I grow and as I continue to soak in all these workshops I'm doing, I'm able to offer more. You know, so it's really
Mm,
exciting. It's like it's constantly evolving. What about your own
mm.
coaching journey?
Um, my own coaching journey is quite short. It doesn't ha- it's not it ha- it's quite young still.
Hmm.
Um, as I said, like it's when I was gigging and stuff, I was able to live through the way in which I was gigging, so that was great. And I I I I wasn't really in a place that I felt like I wanted to be teaching. Um, Even though when I was younger, I was when younger in a sense, like when I was maybe 16, I guess, until maybe I was 19.
Hmm.
My dad owned a theater school in Limerick,
Cool.
and I used to teach there. I used to teach drama and singing and dancing, always with someone.
Wow.
And
Okay.
my mom is also a choreographer, and my dad is a producer and a singer and stuff. So
Wow. So it's like
that
you're
that whole
immersed in that life from a young
that
age.
whole family unit was
Mm.
just like it was shaking always, and it was always shaking music. It was always just that's what it was, and musical theater really, and theater. And so my teaching was really steeped back then, or like really it happened back then, and it was steeped basically in musical theater, and technical stuff wasn't something that we used to teach other than healthy habits and all that kind of stuff. But then once I came to Germany, after I had worked in the bar for a year, and I drank schnapps every night, and I got home at 4 o'clock every night,
Has to be done.
and yeah, it has to be done. But also, I was kind of like, can I really keep this up? Like, I
Yeah, it's
really,
hard on the voice as well.
yeah, totally. And also I was getting really thin, and I wasn't eating as much, and I was feeling like, okay, I need to be very careful here, because that's
Mm.
not necessarily my life, and I'm not used to that. There's a lot of people that are used to it.
Hmm.
I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
Um but so then I got a job as an English teacher in Germany. So I was working in a couple of companies. But then I landed a big company in Magdeburg called Berlitz. And I worked there for 2 years. And during those 2 years, I also then decided that I really loved teaching, and I was getting really good feedback from people, and I was getting really into it, and I loved being in the room with someone. I loved seeing someone's progression, and I loved being the person that had answers for someone. And when it was an English thing, so I was teaching a lot of Germans, and I was learning German at the time, so I was able to learn from them translating, and also be so happy that when they asked how to say this correctly, I was able to. And that feeling of kind of, I don't know, gave me a sense of self-worth and
Mm.
confidence. And then I realized I really love teaching. And then I decided to go to the local music school, which was across the road from where I was living. And ask them, did they have any space for a singing teacher? They said no. And I was like, okay, that's
You're
fine.
like, no way,
And
man.
then, yeah, I was like, who the hell are you? Get out. You don't even speak German.
You
Leave,
don't
please.
if
Um,
you don't get if you don't ask, isn't that what they say?
that's it exactly. But the thing is, I didn't get at that point,
Yeah.
which was also fine. But then my girlfriend then at the time, or Katia, my girlfriend, she started taking piano lessons there. And she then was talking to her piano teacher, and her piano teacher said, "Oh, it's such a pity the singing teacher here, not she has to go on maternity leave, so we don't have a singing teacher. Oh, what are we to do? Because Magdeburg
Hmm.
is quite small." And then she was like, "Well, my boyfriend is also a singer, and he's a teacher and stuff, and he wanted to do singing teaching. What about
Hmm.
him?" And so I went and I met the owner of the school, and I said, "Look, this is my CV. This is my German A1. Here you go. This is as much German as I can speak." And he was amazing. This guy Guido Kaepernick, he was so fantastic. And he really he gave me an opportunity to do something that has kind of, yeah, catapulted me into kind of thinking and knowing what I want to do for the rest of my life for the first time,
Yeah,
you know?
that's amazing.
Mm.
I kind of
And
ended up the same, similar. It was just that somebody said, "Oh, I have a friend who sings," and I
mm,
ended up teaching in the first music school I worked in. So very, very similar to I
Very
agree
similar.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's those opportunities that you're kind of like, as you said, if you don't ask, or if you're not outwardly saying that you'd like that, or you're not, telling people that you are a singer and that you do have passion, people won't think of you that way. So you need to be, if this is your life, if this is your passion, it needs to be something you live, so that when your friend thinks, there needs to be a singing teacher, they're going to think instantly Rebecca, or they're going to think instantly Connor, this is,
Mm-hmm.
or whoever, and this is something that I think a lot of people tend to get annoyed about, is that they're not given opportunities, even though they'd love it, but they're not really living the passion. They're doing it maybe behind closed doors, and then kind of going, oh, I really wish I was a singer, or I really wish I was a teacher, or whoever. But if you're not living the passion, no one's going to know, and no one will then maybe give you the opportunity, you know
Yeah, I think like everyone that I've spoken to who's kind of really getting into the coaching world, like everyone's so passionate about it, and everyone just love,
Mm,
like everyone seems to just have had that moment of like where they're in a different situation, but they're being that mentor coach
mm,
kind of role. They're fulfilling that role. Like for me, it was like being a retail manager, and the best
mm.
part of the job was like training and development. Like it was just
Right.
like
Yeah,
I
there you
loved
go.
that stuff, you know.
Nice.
And for you, it was you worked with with your parents' stage school, and then the English teaching kind of brought you back
Yeah,
around to it again, and it's
exactly.
like it's kind of something that's in us. We can't really rid it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And it's best to go with it then, because if it keeps coming back up and surfacing, and you can only push it down so much. If allow it to be your person, allow it to be who you
Mhm.
are. And it can only be positive, I think.
But what
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about was when we first chatted about you coming on for a chat with me, we were talking about like, you know, our our thoughts around rejection, and also
Mm,
maybe about the whole world of competition in general. And like, for example, I hate competitions. I really am not a fan of competitions. I have done competitions in the past, mainly to get experience, and I wouldn't
mm.
discourage anyone to do it. If that's what you want to do, then do it. As I said, I've done it as well, but I just don't think competitions are any way to get any gauge of your actual real talent. So I'm wondering, like, what's your advice for people who maybe are thinking of going forward for competitions, or maybe they've been rejected, maybe they've auditioned for something and been rejected, or even auditioned to be in a band or musical or whatever it is. What's your advice around rejection or how to deal with it?
It's a good question. I was always given the advice when I was younger, especially in acting and film and stuff like that, is that when you go to an audition, the person that's giving or taking the audition, or watching you or listening to you or whatever, already knows what they want. And if you don't fit that, then it's not about you. You know what I mean? It's not your fault that you didn't fit the thing that the person needs at that moment. And I think that's really important to remember when you do competitions, is that, like, when you go for it, um I would say go for. I know I didn't, but I'm also the similar as you. I don't necessarily like competition. I don't think it doesn't suit me. It doesn't suit my personality. But I think that there's a lot of people that it does, and I would say go for it. Always try and try again. Try, if this is really what you want, go for it. Go for the next audition. Go for it again the following year. Go for it again the following year, because trends change, and things that people like to listen to, and people like voices that people like. If Can you imagine if, like Billie Eilish was at the same time as Katy Perry?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just wouldn't have worked, because Katy
Hmm.
Perry was like that music was so, like, back, I can't remember, maybe 5 years ago, I'm not sure. Katy Perry's, that was it. That was all that music, everything on the radio, and that was the voice that people wanted, as in the competitions. That's the voice that people could sell.
Hmm.
And now you look at it, and like Katy Perry is completely left in the dust now at the moment, because Billie Eilish is out, and all of these kind of half singers. And so trends change, and as I said, things that people feel like they can sell change. So you know, if it's not 1 year, if you don't get it 1 year, or if you're not accepted 1 year, and the rejection does hurt, but if this is what you want, I would say go back and try it again next year. Maybe your look is perfect, maybe your story is perfect, maybe your voice at that moment is exactly what they want, and then that's your time, you know.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think,
that's my best advice, and that's something I've kind of lived by, and I think that's all I could say with that, I think.
yeah, I feel that, like, although I don't like competitions, I still think people should go for them if they want to, because I think it's really important to become comfortable with the feeling of discomfort. We need to
Hmm.
realize that we can't win everything, and we need to become comfortable with that uncomfortable feeling. Do you know, that's my thought on it.
Yeah,
Sometimes we have to challenge
totally. You
ourselves
need.
to, like, learn to deal with rejection.
Absolutely. And also, if you don't see the darkness, you're never going to know when it's light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that whole cliche thing. You know, you need to have see both sides of the coin. There's the yin and the yang. There's, you know, you need to know the downs to know the ups. You need to know all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
it builds you as a character, or as your character, as your person. It builds you for sure. Rejection is not something to be ashamed of, I think.
Mhm.
No, I was just going to say that my brother is an actor as well, and he studied in London. And he, for about 9 years, I guess, he was in London trying to make it as an actor. And he really, I know that it was a struggle for him, and I know that it wasn't the easiest for him. But he kept doing it, and he kept going back, and he kept getting auditions, and he was trying things, and he never stopped. And now he's just finished a tour with the Jersey Boys, and he had actually gotten a
Wow.
contract with a great show that was going to start in this year, March, I think. And because of COVID, it couldn't happen. But again, this that's what I'm saying, is that, like, resilience and going for it, even though it's sore, um can sometimes end in yeah, in pleasure or happiness, you know.
Try, try, and try again. Isn't that what they say?
That's it. And
To
don't
keep
forget
it
to try
simple.
one more time
Yeah,
after that.
another try.
Yeah, exactly.
So, one thing we didn't touch on was, let's talk about singing.
Mm.
Do you want to tell people about that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Yeah. That's the podcast that I started in during the lockdown, the first lockdown, when the whole world decided to switch on, I guess, because we all went digital. And so I ended up really thinking about friends that I had, and people that I knew, and people that I had worked with, and people that I had spoken with and always had a good connection with. And I realized, when I really thought about it, a lot of these people really were fantastically uh, equipped and well respected, and very, very good in their fields. And a lot of it was singing, a lot of it was music, and I really wanted just to chat with them. And the first was actually, like I just talked about there, was with my brother Stephen. And I just wanted to
Okay.
chat with him, because when
Yeah.
we meet at Christmas, we don't talk about his work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We might for like 5 minutes, and then it's back to, I don't even know, it's a distraction. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to really kind of actually sit down face to face and chat with him. And it was amazing, and it was so great, and I think it actually helped us in our relationship. And also, it was
Oh,
just
that's
very
lovely.
interesting anyway, as a yeah, I think it was a lovely little milestone that we had. Um and and then it just kind of kept going, and then I asked someone else that I knew, and they said yes, and then I asked someone else, and they said yes. And there was, I think there was one no, which was lovely. There was only one no from people that I asked in the whole series that I've done so far. Um, and it's really been going well, and good reaction, and I've just enjoyed it as a new thing to do, and also started it mainly, as you know, to learn,
Yeah.
because I was hungry. I was really hungry. And I was like, this is the time. If I'm hungry, this is the time to eat as much as I can.
Starving.
And yeah,
Ravenous.
absolutely starving, exactly. And so I decided, like just eat. And so I did, and talked to people and I learned, and I was very lucky with the people that gave me their time. You know what I mean? Um, and so then it happened that we were doing something like this, then like a video series, and I was putting it on YouTube. And if people want to check it out, there's I think 10 episodes, actually a bit more. I think there's 12 episodes still on Picture, maybe even more. I think they're all actually on YouTube. But then I decided then to also make it into a podcast. So I put it
Hmm.
onto Spotify and iTunes and things like that. And also that was another way in which people could kind of easily and easier uh, or easily listen to it, I guess, rather than having to sit down and watch, an hour, 50 minutes thing, you know.
Yeah, well,
Um,
I loved it. I think I've listened to I haven't listened to all the episodes, but I listened to a good few. And I'm like a
Thank you.
podcast fanatic. Like I think I listened to I was actually adding it up during the week. I think I listened to about 6 hours of podcast every week.
Wow.
Yeah,
Still?
yeah,
Wow.
still because it's about a half hour walk back and to from college every morning. So that's an hour a
Yeah.
day in college. That's four days a week is 4 hours, and then another 2 hours, an hour driving down to Cork and an hour driving back. So that's 6 hours. And it's like
Yeah.
a podcast on all the time and probably more because I do throw on a podcast when I'm cleaning the house or whatever as well. I just love it because it's a
Right.
great way to like to learn. Because I find, especially when you're in college or even when I was working full time, you don't give yourself that much time to learn and to kind of have hobbies sometimes that are not
Mm. Mm.
music or your job.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's really interesting to like just delve into a podcast, even if it's about music, like singing stuff, or I listened to one called "Stuff You Should Know," which is like kind of just random.
Mm.
Do you know that one? It's really good.
I
I think we
do.
talked
Yeah.
about podcasts that we
We
listen to.
did. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
Joe Rogan as well, and like I listen to so many different ones, and I'm always looking for a new one to listen to, a new voice, and
Mm.
a new angle.
I think the
For
podcast medium is so cool. I think also the Blind Boy Boat Club really was where the Blind Boy podcast, the Rubber Bandits, the that was really what got me really hooked on podcast
okay.
listening. Do you know the Rubber Bandits? You know
Oh
the
yeah, I
podcast
do.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
kind of a weird person with humor. Like my partner would listen to that podcast, but I don't really like. I've tuned in a few times, but it's not quite
yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's something. It is a podcast, and it's to do with taste. And I know that Blind Boy's humor can be sometimes very yeah, kind of off-putting, or maybe sometimes very unpredictable, maybe, and not necessarily always in a good way. But he hits topics that are really important, especially in Ireland at the moment. He's like a narrator of the way in which the society is, and not just in the world, but really he focuses on Ireland, which is really nice to have a kind of a podcast like that, I feel, because there's lots and things about American and British humor, and also about society in America. And that's all we hear on the news anyway, is American news, constantly, constantly,
Mm,
constantly. And I
mm-hmm.
think what's nice about the Blind Boy thing is that he kind of gets into the nooks and the crannies and the cool things about Irish society.
Yeah,
um
I actually just started listening to the Irish music industry podcast as well.
oh,
Mark
cool. I didn't know they
Mark
had one.
I've forgotten his surname, Mark something, and I'm gonna have to check it now because I feel bad not
Mm.
remembering. Oh, my phone's dead. I can't check it.
Oh no.
The Irish music industry podcast, and it's Mark something. And yeah, it's really really good, and again, it just focuses on the Irish music industry, and it's just really interesting because he did one recently talking about all the fiasco with the grants and all that stuff. So very very
Oh yeah.
interesting, and he's very he takes quite a neutral position from what I could hear so far, but he asks quite loaded questions, but in a good way. Like as in, like he's very like,
Mm.
right, let's get to the root of this. But it's a really
Mm.
interesting one if you want to listen to another Irish
That's
podcast.
what's it called, the Irish Music Industry Podcast, yeah?
Yeah. I'll send you the link to it
Cool.
afterwards.
Nice.
It's really really good.
Do. Yeah, yeah. Do.
But
Yeah.
so I think we could probably wrap it up there now. I could literally chat to you all night. We've got so
I know,
much.
yeah. I also
Yeah.
kind of feel the same. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice getting on a bit of a roll as well. It's nice to be interviewed actually, because I guess that's
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I've been interviewed, to be honest. And it's nice to be on this end of it, but also having to chat, but also nice to be on this end of it, and um, really nice to speak to you. Yeah,
Yeah. I love it. I just love like just chatting to people and like I just find it really interesting. And I was like, well, why not? Because why not just share it with other people? Why not like film it and like share it so other
yeah,
people can enjoy it as well, you know? So
yeah. Because you're doing this. Are you calling it a vodcast or is it
at
a?
the minute, I'm calling it a vodcast.
Yeah,
Like for the last few years, I've wanted to do a podcast.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
as I said, I really love podcasts, so I just thought, well, I kind of want to do that, and I
Mm,
just didn't really have the confidence to kind of do it until during the summer, and then everyone was doing stuff online, and then you released yours, and then I was also following a girl called Kim Jennett. She's more of a singer. She doesn't do podcasts, and she was doing lots of stuff online. There's a few different
mm,
people that were kind of doing things that just really inspired me to like go, okay, now is the time. And so I just decided to do the vodcast because I
mm,
don't have that much time to put into too much of the production side of it at the moment in college. But like I do plan on, uploading it to the podcast app maybe in the summertime and doing it that way. I'm just making it work for me. Like I'm very chill with it at the minute, and whatever I can do, I can do. It's not even regular. If I miss a Friday, I miss a Friday. That's just the
yeah.
way it is for me at the minute. Like so.
But is that not really cool? Because you don't, it's not like TV or radio where you have a certain set of time, like a timetable and a certain thing that you have to say, and all these rules and regulations. It's really, this is what's so nice and about the podcast and about your vodcast is that you do have this freedom of just chatting to people and then putting it out and sharing it with people. But also if you do miss a Friday, like from my point of view, like I started, college in October. And I think my last episode was kind of like at the start of October, I think the
Hmm.
last episode that I released. And it's just that I just haven't had, I haven't had time. But also just haven't had the, I don't know,
Brain space.
yeah, the brain space, because so much is coming in, that I know it's very important to also then kind of be able to switch off.
Hmm.
But the chats are also that I was having was all about learning as well,
Yeah.
so I had to be really careful that I wasn't filling my 14 whatever hours in the day, or 15 hours or whatever, if of just learning,
Hmm.
and so I think that's maybe why I've taken a step back a small bit from the podcast. Not that it's gone completely, but it will. I do have a couple of people lined up for next year for sure. I just need to kind of pin down dates and things like that. But
Do it in your own time. At the end of the
yeah,
day, like, when I'm looking for a podcast, I just do a search and like it doesn't matter when it was uploaded or how old it was. If I haven't
right.
listened to it, I still want to hear it. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Especially on the topic of music and singing, I guess, because
Hmm.
it's kind of, I know I'm sure that there's a lot of talk at the moment in singing podcasts and music about COVID and about the situation for musicians, but at the end of the day, it's usually about stories or technique and stuff, and that stuff is timeless anyway.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely timeless. I
Yeah.
think in the first couple of chats I did, we did chat a bit about COVID because it was kind of fresh in our heads, but it's
Sure.
kind of fallen a bit to the wayside now, which is kind of a good thing because that
Yeah.
all becomes a bit too much too sometimes, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, you could that's sometimes I feel like that's the killer of a conversation now. It's like the new weather. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like when you start talking about the weather, it's like, oh, okay, this conversation really isn't really either it's just beginning or it's really we need to start finishing it up. And I also feel about that kind of COVID thing is that the minute you drop that, it's kind of like, okay, where to go from here now?
I know,
You
yeah.
know?
So where do we go from here?
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of that,
Yeah. Well, Connor, I really loved chatting to you. Thank you so much for
yeah,
your time. I'll add all your links into the description of the podcast when it goes on YouTube, and then in the event for it on Facebook as well. But is there
sweet,
anything that
great.
you want to direct people to yourself as well?
I guess like always, I have a lot of covers and also on YouTube, and people can always go
Cool.
up and check them out. It's always nice to have people just kind of checking covers out, and some of them are old, but some of them are quite up to date.
Hmm.
And
I'll add
so
the link in for you.
yeah, I do. It's always nice to see some interaction and stuff on YouTube. Also, obviously, there's the Instagram, my own one, Conor Ryan vocalist, and also then Let's Talk Singing. And also in the new year is I'm going to start giving also private lessons again. So I'm working at the moment for a school in Germany, but I don't do any private lessons since the first lockdown. I haven't
Mhm.
done any. And so my plan is then in January is to start up with some private lessons again. So um, what I'll do is I'll send you on the link. So there's going to be a link to like a landing
Book.
page, and then
Yeah.
there's a sign up sheet, and then it's all done through Calendly. So it's all done digitally and all through Zoom. And it's always what I'm trying to promote at the moment is my singing lessons are trying to promote and build healthy singing habits.
Okay.
So, and I want to not just go down too technical. I don't want to go too technical with people because I'm
Mhm.
still learning,
Yeah.
but I want to be able to help people that, like I was speaking at the start about the thing of like if you're singing, if you're gigging
Yeah.
and you feel like you're not, it's something is going wrong. I want to be able to
Yeah.
help people with that.
That's great.
Um, and in also in tandem with that then is the I want to start giving, and I will be offering people some kind of very basic recording techniques, home recording techniques, because
Fab.
I'm a session musician or a session singer. I'm also a voiceover artist, so I do a lot of recording here at home as well.
There's
um
another gem.
and so that's something that's still yet still young as well, but it's
Mhm.
something that I'm doing. And also all the things on Spotify, everything you listen to on Spotify has been done with my Mac, with my MIDI, and I mixed it and sent it off to master. But I mixed it, I think there's one track, Pure Release, that was mixed by Alan Keary, but everything else is mixed by myself. So I also want to be able to give people the opportunity to learn how to be at home, get a mic and start making covers, start putting them up on Instagram, fill in your stories, fill in your feed, fill in your whatever you want to do, or completely just for yourself. It's all to do with the client or the student.
That's a great idea. Really good. And one question before I let you go,
Sure.
just in case people are wondering, because you've talked a lot about jazz singing. So is it just jazz that you're kind of focused on, or what areas are you looking at there with genre wise?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because the promotion that I'll be doing it with it is contemporary music.
Okay.
So jazz is included, musical theater is included, pop, rock, all of that. I would never ever touch the classical side,
Yeah.
because it's just impossible unless you're studying it, and
Mhm.
there's no point. But the jazz is also something that I know some people, a handful of people, are interested in improvisation,
Yeah.
and that's what I really love to do. I love to improvise, and I love to take a melody and also solo, but also take a melody and make it kind of your own. Never sing one song the same ever. Um, and
I
so
think you could
if
make a workshop out of that, Connor.
yeah, you think?
Mm, definitely. I
Oh,
think that's something that people would love. I'd
yeah,
love that. Yeah, like
nice.
let's take a song and let's see how we can put our own spin on it.
Yeah, and that's funny, because that's something that I think that comes very naturally to me, and I know that some people it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of again like what I'd like to just be able to at least help people to see if it's possible, or to allow it to be possible,
Yeah.
that they can take many liberties in the melody, for sure. Yeah.
Great. So
Good
this
idea.
yeah,
I'm gonna
there
write
you
that
go
down,
now.
Rebecca. Nice.
Let me know when you have it and I'll share.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, Connor. Pleasure. And
It was
guys,
so nice to speak with you, Rebecca, for sure.